Hi everyone, it's Claire, it's Wednesday, and today I'm chatting about pension pots. So I get asked loads of questions about pensions. I think, as I put in the little blurb, it's because people are worried that retirement age is going up. State retirement age now for lots of us is 67, or if you were born after 1970, it's going to be 68. So if you don't want to be waiting until you are 68, until you can either retire or at least work less hard, if you don't want to stop work completely, you're going to need to sort some things out and put some things in place. So one of the questions that I get asked, and I've got asked recently on the poll, thank you for that, is if I've got more than one pension pot, should I look at combining them and joining them together? So there's several things to consider with that. The first thing is that you need to have a look and see what type of pensions they are that you've got. So the old style pension is what they call a final salary pension or a defined benefit pension, and these are quite hard to come by these days. In the olden days, lots of big companies gave them out. Boots, Sainsbury's, Currys, all that type of place did them. It was quite a standard thing. In this day and age, pretty much the only people still offering those are central and local governments, so things like civil service schemes for teachers, council workers, that type of thing. Nurses and other NHS professionals typically get them. And there are a few other companies that do them, but generally they're not, because on the whole, they're not sustainable long term. So for big government-based organisations, they can look at doing it, but for smaller companies, what they don't want to do is guarantee you an income and then when you get to retirement not be able to pay it. So what they did over the last probably 10 years or so is a lot of companies have moved over to what they call defined contributions or money purchase pensions. And what that means is that you and hopefully your employer put money into a pot every month. When you get to retirement, you can then choose what to do with that pot. And the older type money purchase ones, usually you can buy a fixed income, like on a final salary pension. The newer ones have got more flexibility, so you can dip into it as and when, because a lot of people have realised that as you go through retirement, in the first sort of 10 to 15 years of retirement, you're going to spend a lot more money than you will towards the end of your retirement. People typically are quite healthy and active when they first retire. They want to go on holidays, spend time with grandchildren, children, days out, that type of thing. So you probably need more money to live on between 65 and 75 than you do between 75 and 85 and 85 and 95 and so on. And the new schemes allow you flexibility. So in terms of combining pensions, the first thing is to work out what sort of pensions each of the ones that you've got are. So you should get a pension statement each year. If it talks about the value of a pot in terms of a monetary sum, so it says that your pot is worth £3,000, £30,000, £300,000, it's likely to be a money purchase scheme, which is one of the newer ones. If on the paperwork it talks about years of scheme membership, or it mentions the initials CETV, which is a cash equivalent transfer value, then it's likely to be a final salary pension. And depending on which you've got and which combinations can depend on what you decide to do next. So the main reason that people look at consolidating their pensions is that if all your pension savings are in one place, it enables you to monitor what they're doing. Now, it doesn't mean you're putting all your eggs in one basket, because within that pension wrapper, it can still be invested in a whole range of stuff, but it just means that you can actually monitor it. I came across a lady this year that had 8 different pension pots from different employers, each company she'd worked with for a couple of years. Over the last 20 or so years, they'd set her up a pension, which was great. She'd paid in, they'd paid in. And when we pulled it all together, she had about £97,000 worth of pension savings, which she was really, really pleased by. She didn't even know it was that much. Now, the thing that follows on from that is in the course of us moving the pensions, we actually then found another 2 pensions she didn't even know she had, which was just over another £4,700. So by pulling it all together, now she's able to monitor exactly what she's got. And each year we'll be able to see in terms of progress whether it's moving towards the end goal that she wants. So that's part of the reason that people would move it. The other reasons that people would look at moving it is that all pensions have got some sort of ongoing management fee. It's quite normal. You know, you're paying someone to look after your money, do transactions and look after your account on your behalf. And the problem with small pots is that often there's a minimum charge on these types of things. So say, for example, your pension has got total charges of somewhere between 1% and 2% per year, which wouldn't be unusual. That's the type of charge that you would expect on most things. If you've got a pension where they actually say, but their minimum charge is £500 a year, if you've got 5 little pensions like that, then potentially you could be paying 2.5 grand's worth of charges, where if you move them all into one pot, you wouldn't necessarily. So it's definitely something to consider. If you are lucky that your current employer has got a defined benefit of final salary pension, the other thing that you can ask them about is whether you can pull your old pensions into your scheme and use that to buy extra years in the scheme. So one of the reasons that people like final salary pensions is that the amount of money you receive is guaranteed. It's based on how many years you've worked for the company. If you've transferred within the company, you can actually pull the money with you. So it's often that you can transfer from a local government scheme, teacher scheme, that type of scheme often will let you move your benefit and add all your years together. If you can get up as far as 30 years membership, you might be retiring on near enough half the salary that you actually finished on. So, and that money is guaranteed all the way through until you die. It has a widow's or widower benefit that will pay half to your spouse, providing you're married or in a civil partnership until they die. There's often money if you like a death in service benefit. There's quite a lot of perks for doing that. So if they will let you transfer in the money, especially if it's odd little bits. So I mean, if you've worked for a couple of years in your 20s and you've got sort of 2 grand in a pension, it may be that moving it into the final salary, if it will buy you additional years in your main scheme, is the best way forward. But there's lots of paperwork and things that you need to do with that. So yeah, that's one of the reasons that people look to move them, is reducing costs, monitoring it so that you know exactly what you've got. The third thing is really because it gives you more choice often as to where your money is invested. So if you go into a company scheme, and in this day and age, most people will be employed in a company that will be providing a workplace pension. So if you are less than state retirement age and you are earning more than £10,000 a year, your employer will put you into a workplace pension through what's called auto-enrolment. Now, if you are a business owner and you work for yourself, or if you earn less than that, then you're going to need to think about making your own pension arrangements, because otherwise you're going to be retiring on a state pension. A state pension currently is about 8.5 grand a year, about £154 a week. And to get a state pension, you need to have had 35 years of national insurance contributions. So if you want to be retiring on more money than that, you need to be making your own arrangements to do that. Now, workplace pensions are great because it means that people have actually got a pension and they're starting to plan for retirement. Planning for retirement often is something people plan, they sort of think they should do it and they never quite get around to it. And the earlier you start it, the smaller amount you can put away each month because it's got longer to grow. So it's less of an impact. If you decide to start a pension in your 50s and you want to retire at 65 or 68, you've got to put a lot of money in, or you've got to go into something quite risky to actually get the income you're going to want in retirement. If you can start putting into a pension in your 30s and 40s, you've got much, much longer to do it. Now, the thing about workplace pensions is they are going to choose where to invest your money for you. Often there is some element of choice within that and you can pick, but in practice people don't, because the paperwork arrives, they put it in a drawer and they don't look at it. So having your own pension means that you can make choices to where you put your money, and you can choose a fund that works with your risk level. There is some element of risk in any sort of investing, because if you don't invest and have some element of risk, you're not going to get any growth. People's attitude to risk is different, and some people are happier with more volatility, that things will go up and down a bit more because they know they're going to get more growth out of it over the long term. Other people will prefer to grow at a slow and steady rate. The danger with a workplace pension is they tend to just pick a one-size-fits-no-one option, because they don't want to risk the fact that your pension savings might be lost, which is great. But it does mean that over the long term, if you've got a long time to retirement, that your pension fund might not grow very much, because it's just going to plod along. And if all it's doing is keeping up with inflation or growing a little tiny bit, you might actually find that although you've tucked the money away, it's not really grown in real terms. So definitely worth digging the paperwork out and having a look. Now, if you've got any other questions about this, please post them in the group or post them below on this thread, so you can stick them down on there. The other thing I'd like to say is on your notifications tab for this group, if you didn't get a notification to say that I'm going live, there is a little option you can tick to say notify me when we go live. And also, if you set the post to all rather than highlights, then if there is new stuff available in the group, you'll get it. Now, We're early on in the group at the moment. I want this group to be really helpful for you guys. So if there are questions, please ask. This is the best opportunity you're going to get to actually get your question answered. So yeah, post them in the group, come back to me with any questions, and I will catch up with you soon. See you later then. Bye.